Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Today is Tuesday, August 4th, and we are happy to have you here with us either in person or online through our YouTube channel. So we'll begin this meeting by calling it to order, and an invocation by Dr. Keith Vereen, Providence Baptist Church.
Good evening. Let us pray. Lord God, we just thank you for another opportunity to gather together. Lord God, we pray for the leadership of this community, and we ask that you come in the midst of these proceedings this evening, Lord God. We pray for your presence, that you guide us in wisdom, Lord God. Lord God, we just thank you for everyone that's gathered together here. We pray that everyone that speaks, everyone that has an issue or circumstance to present, that they do so with kindness, Lord God, and with patience and understanding. We pray, Lord God, for fairness in these proceedings and integrity. Lord God, continue to guide this community, that we be unified. Let all the decisions reflect the diversity of this community. Lord God, remember that this is governance for all and not for part. We'll be ever careful to give you all the honor and all the glory. Let the redeemed of the Lord say, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Dr. Vereen. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all that Providence Baptist does for the community. All right, is Ernie here? So, I know, I couldn't see you in that corner. All right, but you're here. That's good. If you are a longtime resident of Kernersville, you are very aware of some of this history, and you may have known the Mullinax family. You may have known Brady or Mary Mullinax, and anyone may know one of their children or grandchildren who are living in the area or who come by once in a while. But people who've moved to the community more recently may not know about the state insect. The state insect for the state of North Carolina is the honeybee. If you go to Raleigh, to the museums there in the gift shop, there are honeybee-related items for sale, little pins, which my children bought for me when they were on a field trip with their class. There's scarves, there's all kinds of things reminiscent of the honeybee. And Kernersville played a big role in that. So the honeybee was adopted as the official state insect of the state of North Carolina by the 1973 session of the General Assembly of North Carolina. And Brady Mullinax went with the Kernersville honeybee queen to present the issue to the state. And they served biscuits with honey on them during a break. And the legislators, as the story goes, and there's a newspaper article in support of it, adopted the honeybee as the state insect at that time. But it's a really important insect to North Carolina because the agricultural nature of our economy, as you know, the honeybee is essential for many crops, and it certainly adds to the beautification of the state. So to the present day, there continues to be an abiding concern for the honeybees and their importance, to raise awareness of that importance, to encourage planting of native species that support the honeybee, and to protect these important insects. And as you go around town, you'll see more and more businesses are incorporating native plants into the landscaping, and that's something you can do in your own yard because that is food and habitat for these pollinators. It's also great for the butterflies. So Brady Molinax, Sr., along with the North Carolina State Beekeepers Association, advocated for this. And some of his friends in 1975 got together and started a festival in Kernersville called the Honeybee Festival to celebrate these efforts that were successful for the honeybee to be the state insect. And so it is a very long-running festival in Kernersville. It's our longest running in the Southeast, definitely. So this year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary, the 50th annual Honeybee Festival Day, inspired by Brady Molinax in the town of Kernersville. And Ernie and his staff have a great series of events lined up for that day. So I'm going to turn it over to Ernie to tell us more about it.
Thank you. So this is the 50th anniversary of the Honeybee Festival. And this year we have some special callbacks. When I arrived in 2002, there was a set honeybee logo. It was pretty much hand-drawn, and it was very, I don't want to say cartoonish, but it lended towards our cartoon variant. And in 2009, Brady was experiencing some health issues. And he and I used to meet in May of each year and plan the whole opening ceremony, which was that was Brady's gig. And in 2009, he was late, and he shows up in June, and I was stressed. And he told me this might be my last year. I'm experiencing health issues. And in that year, we changed the logo and we changed the title to make sure that Brady's name was incorporated, thus Honeybee Festival Incorporated, or inspired by Brady Molinax, because I didn't want to lose Brady's legacy through time. So this year, we're actually retrofitting all of our T-shirts with the old logo to be a callback to the original Honeybee. And I was told by my staff there's going to be a surprise this year. I don't know what it is, so all of you be surprised as much as I am. But apparently it's got a big influence from Brady. So I was kept in the dark on purpose, so I don't know what it is. But we have tons of vendors, a great variation of different types of vendors, food trucks, so it'd be a great time.
And just a shout out for public art, the movable mural that so many people enjoy taking photos in front of was designed and painted by Christina Parrish, who has opened the Open Studio in downtown Kernersville and been involved in several of the recent murals that have been painted. So as mayor of Kernersville, it is my honor, and on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, to declare the 50th annual Honeybee Festival Day, inspired by Brady Molinax, for August 15th. Right. So thank you, Ernie. Thank you so much. Appreciate you and your staff.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ernie, I wonder if they'll have you sing the Honeybee song that Mary Molinax wrote. I'll look forward to it. All right, moving on with the business of the day. So we have several public hearings. We do have a public hearing policy. It's printed on the agenda. Many of you in the room are familiar with it, but I'll review it briefly. When an agenda item is denoted as a public hearing, persons attending shall be permitted to address the Board of Aldermen regarding the item under consideration, those speaking in favor speaking first, and those against speaking second. Proponents and opponents as a group shall each be given 20 minutes of time to speak, and they may allocate that time amongst each other or may choose to allow one speaker to represent the viewpoint. In the event that either proponents or opponents have not designated a speaker or speakers, the mayor shall divide the 20 minutes by the number of speakers wishing to address the Board of Aldermen, and each such speaker shall be allowed that given time within which to address his or her comments, ideas, and concerns. All right, so our first is a public hearing. This is a rezoning that was continued from July 7. Stephen Owen, agent for Owners Congress Gardens, Inc., for a single-phase conditional zoning from GIS and HBS to GIC, zoning docket K388A2. And we have the zoning and the site plan under consideration, and we'll begin with a presentation by our Community Development Director.
Madam Mayor, we received an email yesterday that the applicants wish to withdraw this request at this time.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the withdrawal?
So moved.
I've got a motion by Alderman Apple. I have a second by
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. Are they planning to bring it back later?
I am not sure. I think there was a problem with the sale, so I don't know what will happen and transpire.
All right, we'll move on then to item B, which is a public hearing. Same procedural rules apply. Luke Ward, agent for owner, LND Development Holdings, LLC, for property on Edgewood Street. Zoning docket K569A1. Ms. Garner?
Madam Mayor, the first rezoning tonight is a single-phase conditional rezoning at 540 Edgewood Street. It is currently zoned residential multifamily, 12 units per acre special, and RS7, so 7,000 minimum square foot lot size. The requested rezoning is to residential multifamily, 8 units per acre conditional, so with a specific site plan. The site overall is 1.3 acres. A portion of the property was previously zoned to that RM12S in a case from 2001. They were originally proposing a 2-story brick multifamily residential building with 10 units. But the applicant is now just proposing residential building townhouse, which is allowed in the RM district. So a townhouse is defined in our ordinance as a building which contains 3 or more dwelling units, and each unit occupies 1 zoning lot. The property to be rezoned is surrounded by properties that are zoned highway business, RS7, RM18S, and RS7 and RS7. So it's in a transitional area where some properties have been rezoned to more intense uses, and some are still the RS7. The applicant is proposing a building with 6 townhouse units. Each unit provides 2 off-street parking spaces. The site also includes an area that's just over an acre to remain as a common area lot to provide residents with amenity space. The site proposes a total density of 4.47 units per acre, which is well below the threshold of the 8 units per acre within the RM8 zoning district. But again, with this site plan adopted, if the rezoning is approved, this would be the number of units that could be constructed without another rezoning. A 15-foot type 2 buffer yard is provided along the entirety of the eastern, western, and southern links of the property. Most of that will probably be met with existing landscaping. That common area at the back will remain wooded, so I believe they'll probably meet the intent of the buffer yard with mature landscaping. There are specific use conditions in the ordinance that requires planning board to verify the following about streets, driveways, and parking areas not blocking, impeding, or interfering with the public street system. There's adequate provision for vehicular traffic to and from, and that parking areas on the premises can facilitate safe access for any emergency or delivery services. Each of these units will have their own driveways, so we find that this condition is met. There are additional development standards regarding building design and the impacts of the development on future residences in the area. Staff finds that the project meets the minimum standards of the subsection referenced. And the petitioner has provided colorized elevations to show how the design elements will break up the building to give it some architectural interest and not make it look like just one flat faced building. It will have different colored siding and other enhancements such as brick along the bottom to dress it up. And these are proposed to be adopted as part of the ordinance as well. The land use plan designates this area as mixed residential, which is defined as areas that are transitional land use areas and are located along major thoroughfares. Mixed residential areas provide a supply of undeveloped land to accommodate the growing demand of smaller owner-occupied housing units, such as cluster homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, and condos. So we find that the RM8 zoning district is appropriate for this area with the land use plan and meets the intent to provide housing of different types. This was heard at the July Planning Board meeting. Planning Board and staff recommend approval of the motion to recommend approval of the application to amend the Unified Development Ordinance of the town by rezoning the property in case K569A1 from RM12S and RS7 to RM8C. The finding the development is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and is both reasonable and in the public interest because of the following. The proposal is consistent with the land use plan designation of mixed residential, and the proposal meets the minimum development standards of UDO section 4.4.64. We are also recommending approval of the site plan and elevations with conditions as presented in the staff report. This was the vote at Planning Board. All members present voted in favor. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Services, are they going to be, I'm sorry, emergency services provide a Knox box for each access?
They will have driveways that connect to the public street, so there's no need for a Knox box because it'll be
Okay,
accessed directly from the street.
thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this rezoning? All right, seeing none, is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. So we could vote on the rezoning and the site plan together and not separately? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I would vote to approve the site plan and plan as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the rezoning and site plan with conditions as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, I've got that by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor? It's unanimous. Did they say what they were thinking about getting started? Okay. All right. Item C is another public hearing. It is a text amendment, which are always brought by the town manager. So Curtis Swisher, agent for the town of Kernersville, requests a text amendment to Article 6 of the Unified Development Ordinance, revising language to conform to NC general statutes and administrative modifications. And this is case KT 286. And it's a amendment to the UDO, but it's also a public hearing. So if anyone has a strong opinion, one way or the other on that, feel free to speak when we get to that part of it. All right, Ms. Garner, we're interested in your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got two additional updates to Article 6. There was a text amendment for Article 6 last month, and these came up after that train left the station, so we couldn't just tack it on to last month's Article 6 amendment. So this is a separate one, but does modify portions of Article 6. The first change is to modify the language in Section 6.1.3.c regarding delinquent applications to align with North Carolina general statutes. And our change number 2 is to add to the list of approved modifications to special use permits and conditional zoning district approvals. Change number 1 is to 6.1.3c. This aligns with the language utilized in state statutes regarding delinquent applications, so ones that the applicant stops responding to us, perhaps in our permit portal, or something is just kind of languishing out there. It would change the verbiage to say when an administrative application is placed on hold at the request of an applicant for a period of 6 consecutive months or more, or the applicant fails to respond to comments or provide additional information reasonably requested by the local or state government for a period of 6 consecutive months or more, the application review is discontinued and the administrative application becomes void. The applicant must resubmit the administrative application and pay the appropriate fees to take action on the request, and the development regulations in effect at the time processing begins as to the resubmittal of the administrative application shall apply. Resubmittal fees shall apply according to the Board of Aldermen approved fee schedule. So this clarifies the process, but also utilizes nearly verbatim the language in the state statute. So that's the first change. The second change is about the administrative modifications that are delegated to staff. This is applicable to UDO section 6.7.1.a. We have a list of items that can be modified by staff. So after rezoning is approved, if there was a conditional site plan, it allows for very small little modifications or tweaks. Obviously, we would not want it to be so broad that you show up after it's completed and you're like, that's not what I approved. That's not the goal of this. It's just to respond to things that come up in the field. One issue that we've had 2 separate developers have recently that have been working on large residential projects is the desire to modify lot sizes in certain circumstances. So state statute is pretty clear that administrative modifications have to be clearly defined with clear and discernible criteria. Again, we don't want it to be open to interpretation about what a minor change is. This would also still prohibit a change in density. That is also very clear in state law that you cannot change density. But the issue that we've run into is one developer would like to make the lot sizes a little smaller to put the drainage ditches between the lots into HOA maintained common area. One needed to adjust based on floodplain limits and then made the lots a little smaller. So these are things that we can't approve right now. But we would propose to add item number 11, which says lot lines, lot sizes, or configuration of lots, provided the proposal meets the minimum lot dimensional standards of the base zoning district. Residential density may not be changed in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 160D 703B. So we're reiterating where it says in state law that we can't do that, but for those instances where we're putting drainage ditches and conveyances into common area, or we need to adjust a little bit to account for floodplain limits, a road realignment, or things like that, we'd like to be able to help that developer out rather than putting another item on your agenda. The other change that we are proposing to add is in 671A, which is kind of the pretext to how that list, that numbered list works. We would like to add clarifying language about engineering modifications not requiring a minor modification. We acknowledge that there's a fine line between an engineering change and a full site redesign. So examples of engineering modifications are provided, because if we just kind of, again, left it up to interpretation, we probably know a few people who would redesign the whole site and say, well, I'm an engineer and I modified it. And that's not the intent. So as proposed, we're requesting to add the verbiage that engineering modifications such as adding or removing stormwater control measures and related infrastructure, placement of retaining walls due to grade changes, and other modifications arising from final engineering calculations and design do not require a minor modification. If we felt that the change was significant enough, there is kind of an escape hatch in 671B1, which is the next section in the ordinance, which requires that changes that are not considered minor or are changing the basic intent of the site plan have to be approved through the method in which they were originally approved. So if the scope creep was so great, then we would say, no, we think this is a basic change to the entire site plan and you need to go seek new approval. But we've had one instance where a developer was working from their final development plan approved by planning board through civil construction drawings and found out that they needed another stormwater pond, and we were sort of stuck in limbo of like, well, what do we do with this? And so we decided, you know what, when you're getting into those final calculations, if you need to add or adjust or shift or something like that, we would like to be able to help that person out rather than send them back through the process. So those are the two changes to section 6.7, and then there's the change to 6.1 regarding the state statutes. This was also heard at the July Planning Board meeting. Planning Board and staff recommend approval of the ordinance as presented in the staff report, with all members present voting in favor.
I have a quick question. For the first change, I saw that it previously was 3 months, and now it's 6 months. Is that because of the state statutes?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Catherine, if there were a proposed elimination of a stormwater retention pond that was on the originally approved application, would that require running back through the process?
As proposed, no, but there are significant amount of engineering calculations that go into that, and there's a stormwater report that's prepared by the engineer that's submitted with the civil plans, and that's reviewed by our town engineer and right now our contracted engineering firm, so they would be able to verify whether or not the numbers add up, or if somebody was just trying to get around a regulation. I've never seen one removed. Usually they're added.
I haven't either, but your comment was that it addresses additions, for example, of the stormwater retention pond. So that helps to understand. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think before they can be removed, the only way they can be removed is if they still meet the requirements set forth in the state statute and our ordinance about stormwater. So they would, that's what they would have to prove is that, you know, if we remove this pond, we're still going to be able to treat the water in the runoff.
Thank you.
I think Curtis and I've seen it, situations where the decision before the ponds are built to combine, instead of have two separate ponds, combine, have one larger device. I could see a neighborhood wanting to do that, perhaps. So I do have a question. I do have a concern. If you have a new development with new roads that the site plan shows as being straight across from an existing road, can that be shifted by this as a modification?
New roads require a driveway permit either to be issued by the town or issued by the North Carolina Department of Transportation, depending on the road. So to change a road's location would require a review of that additional permit. So there's an additional step, you know, with that. We have had some final development plans relocate their roads entirely. Like it wasn't a minor shift. It was like it was located here and then it moved 500 feet in one direction. So it was a significant change. And that came with a letter of consent from NCDOT saying that the new location was acceptable. So it's not something that we would just take at face value. We would do the checking to make sure that the driveway permit could be updated to accommodate that change.
Okay, we do have some offset roads in town, and we have town regulations that roads are supposed to line up, and the town has had to do some extreme measures of buying property and that sort of thing to line new roads up with existing roads that the town has built. So I feel like private developers, especially, their site plans should show the roads lining up, so it's not offset, because that is a traffic hazard as
Absolutely.
everybody's turning in and out. But I feel like that is something that's really important and should not be a change. If the board adopts it as a road that's straight across from another road, that's how it ought to be built.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you agree, Sarah?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I think sometimes when there's the initial grading of a site, it's not obvious what the developer's planning the final road bed to be. So I think that that ought to be something that's enforced. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, I do not have any speaker cards for this, but I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of these modifications? There's no one who wants to stand up and say we ought to follow state law? No, just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Seriously, is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of any of these, any developers who've wanted a minor modification or some of these changes? All right. Anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed.
Madam Mayor, I would like to recommend approval of the ordinance as presented in the staff report.
Got a
Second.
motion.
Second.
I've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham, second by Alderman Spanis. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, we are to the public session. Speakers from the floor. This is an opportunity to speak to the Board of Aldermen about a concern that is not otherwise included on the agenda. I have 2 folks signed up to speak if there's any others. We do have speaker cards at the back, so fill out your card and bring it to Ed Powell, who's sitting right here. He's our town attorney, and he'll take the card from you. The first speaker signed up is Sean O'Neill. Oh, I'm sorry. Go speak from the podium so we can hear you. And make sure the microphone is on so that they can hear you on the Kernersville channel on YouTube.
I believe it is, ma'am.
Okay, and you can move the microphone so it catches your voice. You can move it up on the podium. You can hold it.
Is that better?
Curtis, is it on? Okay.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah, you got it. Could you hear the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, start with your name and your address and tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, ma'am. I am Sean O'Neill. I live at 1310 Stephenshire Court in the Kentland Ridge subdivision. And I'm here tonight regarding the noise ordinance for Kernersville and its enforcement. Ordinance number October-2022-48. Here tonight to address an ongoing quality of life issue affecting my home and neighborhood, the excessive noise and vibrations caused by the outdoor live music at Gypsy Road Brewing Company and Double D's Burnout Saloon. While I fully support our local business community and that Double D's often has live music to ostensibly support several charities or fundraisers, the current situation has become untenable for the residents. The volume levels from these venues frequently cross the line from standard ambient noise to severe property interference. Even with my doors and windows completely shut, the amplification and heavy bass penetrates through my home's walls. My wife and I have previously contacted both establishments to request moderation and have been met with silence from Gypsy Road and flippancy on the staff at Double D's. We've additionally contacted both the Kernersville Police Department and Guilford County Sheriffs to no avail because both departments have cited the other has jurisdiction over the bar. This isn't just about hearing the music down the street. It's about an inescapable vibration throughout my home. It disrupts my sleep, it's created stress, and it's prevented me and my wife from enjoying our own yard during the weekend and evenings. Under the ordinance I cited earlier, residents have a right to the reasonable use and enjoyment of their property. And right now, I believe that's being compromised per section 10-85. Factors: echo, the volume and intensity of background noise, if any; foxtrot, the proximity of the noise to residential sleeping facilities; Juliet, the duration of the noise; and kilo, whether the noise is recurrent, intermittent, or constant. Because this has become a chronic neighborhood issue, I'm asking the board to review and to potentially take 3 actions. First, request that the code enforcement or police department conduct proactive monitoring directly from the residential property lines, not at the venue boundaries, during peak weekend live music hours. Second, ensure enforcement of the town's progressive noise penalties for repeat offenders, including the $500 fines and eventual temporary outdoor bans if the violations continue. Third, review whether our current commercial sound limits provide adequate protection for established residential zones that border these active properties. Thank you for your time, your attention to my neighborhood's well-being, and your commitment to keeping Kernersville a peaceful place to live.
Thank you for your remarks. Curtis, do you want to address this tonight, or you want to just bring it up at a future agenda?
I can address probably some of it tonight.
You can go ahead and sit down.
You live on Stephenshire Court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Kentland Ridge is divided, part of it's in the town, part of it's not. He is in the part that's in the town. So we can go out and check on enforcing the noise that's coming from Gypsy Road. Double D is not in the town limits. Our noise ordinance is not applicable to them. They're in the county. Problem's going to be, are you in Guilford County or Forsyth? Problem's going to be Guilford County Sheriff, and which he alluded to, is probably going to come out and say, well, the noise is coming from Double D. If they enforce it at the property line like we do, they're not going to be able to go onto his property line because it's in Forsyth County. So he's kind of out in limbo.
Do you have a neighbor across the street? Across the street's Guilford, right? Do you have,
Across the street is Guilford.
do you have a neighbor across the street who will help you make the...
He's not a lot of help then, is he?
So a Guilford County Sheriff lives across the street from you and is affected by this music.
Is he
too.
on Kentland Ridge or on Stephenshire? On where? Yeah, so he's going to need someone on Kentland Ridge on the Guilford County side to do something about Double D. We will go out and check. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, we will check it. I think we go from his property line, correct? So when he's a pretty good way from Gypsy Road. It might register enough to be in violation of it, but from what we saw with Brewer's Kettle and the folks that called about Brewer's Kettle, I mean, they were maybe 70 yards from it, and he's probably 500 yards from it. I don't think it's going to violate our noise ordinance, but we will go out and check. So if you'll call, you can call the PD next time and tell them you're on Stephenshire Court in Kernersville and you would like for us to come out and just check with the Gypsy Road. So again, we can't do anything with Double D. We will talk to Double D and say, hey, look, can you help us out here? But we will come out and check on the Gypsy Road side to measure that decibel level. It might be. I mean, it might pick up enough depending on, especially in the fall of the year when there's no leaves on the trees and whatnot. It might. So we'll come out and do that, and then we'll see if we can work something out with Double D. But like I say, they're in Guilford. I'm pretty sure they're in Guilford County, aren't they? So they're Guilford County. I don't even know what their noise ordinance is. I do remember looking at it, but I don't know what it is. So we'll kind of go from there.
Chief, I'll recognize you to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, if you don't mind, will you give all your information to Assistant Chief Merritt's at the back? And we want to get it all, that way we can take a proactive measure and we can go ahead and start letting our squads know. If you don't mind, just give him all your information on the way out. Yep, thank you.
Appreciate coming to raise this concern. We had some modifications made to the sign ordinance and some enforcement in another area of town, which is what Mr. Swisher's relating to. And it can be frustrating because sometimes court cases get delayed and that sort of thing. So appreciate you being willing to follow up on this. You're trying to create peace and quiet for your neighbors as well. Hopefully there will be someone on the Guilford side who can help you also, other than this one neighbor. Is there anything more on this sound issue? Just stay in touch with us on it. Okay. All right. I will recognize Robert Moore.
Good evening, Aldermen, Madam Mayor. My name is Robert Moore. I am here with my 7-year-old son who's hiding. He's a little shy. This is a first for us going in front of local government. But my wife and I are about to celebrate 4 years as Kernersville residents. We love it out here. We moved here after my wife and I came back from Surf City, North Carolina, because my parents had moved here during the process. So when it was fun and games were over and it was time to raise children, we came to Kernersville. Absolutely love everything about Kernersville. We love the small town charm, but we also recognize it is definitely a growing area and you can't hide progress. Folks need homes, folks need establishments and things like that. I noticed Mr. Ernie was here. I've heard his name several times. Fantastic job at Parks and Rec, sir. We visit all of them, specifically 4th of July Park, because we have become full-blown skateboarders since March of this year. We are there several hours in the afternoon, sometimes several hours in the evening, and we're very happy we have a place here locally that we can go and skate. I know I've emailed Mr. Swisher, and thank you for your response to that email, just about the concern about just the quality of the skate park. I know it's pretty old. I know we've done some renovations, and I know we don't have anything budgeted this year. So I was hoping we could start the conversation for the next budgeting year for Parks and Rec about possibly revitalizing and redoing that park. You know, the old boards that are used on there, of course, I'm sure Ernie can attest, as they get rained on, as the sun hits them, as the winter hits them, they expand, they contrast. It looks like we're running out of bolt holes to secure new boards on there. So just want to get the conversation started about possibly looking at renovating our skate park for the future. You know, the last thing we want to see is this thing just get into a disrepair where it's not safe to skate anymore. It is a very hard place for new skaters to learn how to skate just because of the transitions of the ramps. They've got 2 little wedges that they can use, but the flow of the park kind of makes it dangerous for some of the kids that are first starting out. A lot of towns and municipalities around us have gone to full concrete parks with pump tracks and beginner areas. And this park is not just for 4 wheels on these skateboards. It's also for our rollerbladers and our bicyclers and of course the dreaded scooters that come in there from time to time. But we just want to make sure we do see some sort of resolution in the future, especially knowing that this community has got a ton of young skaters. I will admit I have been out there way past, I'll plead the fifth, I guess. Might have been out there past dusk a few times. But thankfully we got some lights from the tennis courts to keep us out there. There's a huge following with the youth skaters. There's about 7 or 8 of us that will sit out there with our kids at night and skate around. Myself at 40 years old and after a 25-year hiatus have gotten back onto a board. Probably can say I haven't broken, twisted, or hurt anything too severely yet, but we've absolutely had a blast. But we would love to talk to you more about what some other towns and cities have done in North Carolina. And hopefully we can draw an entrepreneur here one day to open up another skateboard shop here in Kernersville. My understanding is that there was one here for a very long time and closed down shop a few years ago, but Winston-Salem's got a new park coming. Of course, it's privately funded, but they did revitalize there at the fairgrounds a few years ago, as well as Greensboro is redoing their Glendale skate park. Lexington spent about $1 million redoing theirs, and that's kind of what prompted our visit today. Is on a trip home from Lexington, one of my boys said, "Man, I wish we had something like that." And so we're just, here to hopefully make some dreams come true for a young man here, and along with some other skaters that are in the area. And I thank y'all for hearing us out tonight.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert, I have a question for your son. Could I ask you a question?
We do have, see, the thing is, now you're a scout, so you know this. You know the importance of speaking up and being involved. And there's no age limit for speaking. People any age can speak. And anyone in this room can be asked a question. So you're here, so if you don't mind, let Mr. Apple ask you a question. We'd really appreciate it.
What I would like to know, first of all, I want to thank you for coming here to talk to us about this.
Yes, sir.
It takes a lot of guts for a young man to do it. It takes a lot of guts for an old man to do it. But I want to say to you, ask you, do you agree that we need to fix up the roller skate park?
Yes, sir.
Would that help you to use it on a daily basis?
Grab the microphone for him.
Nope,
Thank you.
I didn't realize this was wireless. We have gotten fancy. Mr. Apple, do you mind asking one more time? I'm sorry.
Okay, would it help you if we fixed up the skateboard park a little bit for you to use?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. See, you're who we're talking about this for. You are who we're talking about this for, and your friends should ask you for coming to the right place at the right time and saying the right thing. So I just want to thank you for participating in your Board of Aldermen process. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And I let the board know, and then I communicated in email that Ernie and I have talked about the skate park, Ernie, the last 3 budget cycles probably. He's absolutely correct. I mean, parts of it are still pretty good. Parts of it need some work. It seems like every year something has to be done with it. We built the park when we did the renovation to 4th of July Park using probably Part F and LWCF funds. So the skate park is a requirement. I forget how long is left on the requirement that it remain there, but our goal is to let it remain there beyond whatever the requirement is. But it does need some upgrading, some repair, and he's correct. It needs to be, instead of the boards with the ramps and so forth, it needs to be, at this point in time, needs to be one of the all cement parks that you see being built now. There's no maintenance to them. I mean, some of them can, they may paint graffiti on them or whatever, but that's about all the maintenance you have with those. So we are looking into it to see what we can do with that, because it's, it kind of went through a lull. For several years, the usage was low, didn't have a lot of folks using it, had more probably bikes riding on it than we did skateboards. But the last probably 2 or 3 years, 4 years, we've seen it kind of pick back up with a different group of folks. And so it's starting to get some use again, and we do need to look into doing something with it.
Y'all can, okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
and I just want to add, and maybe Ernie can answer, whoever's idea it was to cut out that back part of the fence, right on. That was fantastic. So it definitely, there was that one hip there with the post that was pretty much unskatable just because it was so close to the fence. So I rolled over it the other night and did not crash into the fence because it was not there. So I was very ecstatic to see that. So thank you.
Hey, y'all can sit down and I'll recognize Ernie.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Mr. Pages.
So just to provide some context to the skate park, what it was and where we need to go. I think this is the 3rd or 4th email contact I've heard about updating the park. Back when that park was put in, it was the first, I think we were the first skate park to be put in after the state changed its rules on hazardous recreation.
And we were involved in the advocacy for that
correct.
change.
Exactly.
So Mayor Larry Brown, whose picture is outside the courtroom, was involved in that effort because the children in Kernersville were skating basically at the shelter at Harmon Park and on the street and to try and get an appropriate and safe and fun place skateboarding is always a little bit hazardous, but, within the bounds of skating, but an appropriate place that would be a little more challenging and fun for local youth. So that was part of that original plan. Mr. Swisher was involved in it as well. But carry on from there.
So at the time, the unit we've got was called a modular unit, which was the most popular skating surface layout that the skaters wanted. We went to the high schools, we asked the skaters, and that's what they preferred. And then in around 2009, Rob Dietrich, pro skateboarder, came out with a skateboard plaza design, which is all concrete, that incorporates landscape, tree canopy, those type of things, and makes it look like a downtown center that you would see in a normal downtown sit around and eat and gather and that type of thing, which is what skaters like to skate on. So that's become the most popular method or popular style now that incorporates the ramps and the contours of the concrete, but also it features bowl drop-ins, which is another previous model used to be old swimming pools and the drop-ins. So they incorporate drop-ins as well. So you have the best of all 3 styles in a downtown looking plaza, which is what we were looking, Curtis and I have been talking about, doing that to modernize that feature. And to Curtis's point, LWCF carries a 30-year perpetuity clause. So we're right outside that 30 years now. So we can change it without having to go back to LWCF consuls and ask for permissions. So now's about the time. I've been looking at grants. It's accessibility grants, because once you turn it into that concrete courtyard, it becomes all-inclusive. All wheel, all ability, all children can skate it. So it becomes an accessibility thing. So there's accessibility grants available. So The last email correspondence I had about the skate park was to do a conceptual drawing of what it would look like, and then we could go after some funds. So that's where we left it. So,
It would be helpful, I think, as you design it, to get the input from people who are using it as well.
all right, so the public input would be part of that, so.
And I'm happy to coordinate with the high school kid. I kind of, you know, I always question on the high school kid, but, you know, Kernersville has a lot of former pro skaters that I didn't even know existed until this year. And there's a huge community of skateboarders. We've become very good friends with a lot of them, and we'll be more than happy to help organize local skaters that have been doing this for a long time, that have seen the trends. We'll be happy to coordinate that.
I guess we'll send you an email when it's time and we'll connect.
To be a part of it.
Excellent.
Thank you, Robert. All right, moving on. We've got John Quigley. Mr. Quigley?
My name is John Quigley. I live at 422 Mountain View Drive here in Kernersville. And I'm here tonight to re-propose an idea that I had back in August of 26. And that was to propose a title change for the Board of Aldermen and change it to Councilor or Town Council and Alderman to Councilor. It was back in August 27th. I haven't heard anything, so I'm back to repropose that, but what I'd like to tell you is that I do appreciate the opportunity to present an idea that I believe can strengthen the connection between our local government and the people it serves. This proposal is simple. I respectfully ask the town of Kernersville to consider changing the official titles of the Board of Aldermen to Town Council and Alderman to Councilor. The proposal is not about changing the responsibilities of our elected officials. It's not about changing the responsibilities of our elected officials. It's just simply, excuse me. All right, this proposal is not about changing the responsibilities of our elected officials. It's not about changing our history, and it's not about politics or ideology. It's about communications, clarity, and preparing Kernersville for the future. Kernersville has experienced tremendous growth. Every year, new families move in, new businesses invest here, young professionals choose to make Kernersville their home. Our community continues to become more diverse in age, background, and experience. Many of these residents have never heard the term Board of Aldermen. I have residents in my 55 and older that didn't know what a Board of Aldermen is, but anyways, many residents have never heard of the term Board of Aldermen. When they attend their first meeting or read an agenda, they often wonder what an alderman is and how that differs from council member. The answer, of course, is that there is very little practical difference. The duties remain exactly the same. The title is what changes. Language matters because language affects understanding. Government should be as accessible as possible. When residents immediately understand the structure of the government, they are more likely to participate. They are more likely to attend meetings. They're more likely to volunteer. They're more likely to vote. One of the primary responsibilities of local government is making government understandable. Changing these titles helps accomplish that goal. Another reason is to consider this proposal is consistency. Across North Carolina, many municipalities already use the title Town Council. Residents moving from those communities immediately recognize the form of government. Businesses recognize it. Developers recognize it. The media recognizes it. Using common terminology makes communication easier without changing how the government operates. I also recognize that the Board of Aldermen carries history. Our town has proudly used this title for generations. Nothing in this proposal diminishes that history. Historical documents remain unchanged. Plaques remain unchanged. Archives remain unchanged. Our past continues to be honored. Communities regularly modernize technology while preserving history. Doing so does not erase the past. It simply improves communication for the future. Another benefit is inclusiveness. The title counselor clearly applies to every elected official, regardless of gender. Again, this is not criticism of the current title. It simply recognizes that language evolves. Many governments have adopted gender-neutral titles because they better reflect today's communities. Kernersville has always adopted as our community has grown. This would be another example of thoughtful progress. Some may ask whether changing the titles would be expensive. It doesn't have to be. The town could implement the change gradually. Business cards can be updated when reordered. Letterhead can be updated during regular printing cycles. Website updates are relatively straightforward. Signs can be replaced when they naturally reach the end of their seasonal expenses. Others may ask whether there are more important issues facing Kernersville. The answer is yes. There always will be. Public safety, road improvements, economic development, housing, parks, infrastructure. Those issues deserve continued attention. But improving communication with residents is also important. Government should never stop looking for ways to become more understandable and more accessible. This proposal supports that goal. I also believe that change sends positive message. It says Kernersville respects its traditions while embracing the future. It says government wants residents to understand how it works. It says that clear communication matters. As elected officials, each of you have demonstrated your commitment to serving the people of Kernersville. This proposal supports that commitment. It helps remove unnecessary confusion. It encourages civic participation. It reflects the welcoming community that Kernersville strives to be. I am not asking for an immediate vote tonight. Instead, I respectfully ask the board to consider studying this proposal. Allow staff to examine what would be required, gather public information, review how other North Carolina municipalities have approached similar changes, evaluate the costs, discuss the benefits, then decide whether the modernization would benefit the town. Good government is built on listening. Tonight, I ask this idea simply receive thoughtful consideration. Whether the board ultimately agrees or disagrees, I appreciate your willingness to hear the proposal. Thank you for your service for our community. Thank you for your dedication to Kernersville. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got Dave Wakeunt. Sorry, I know I mispronounced your name. You got it. I did? Okay.
I'm Dave Wygant. I live at 801 Wooddale Drive, right off Linville Springs. Most of you have probably heard from me. I'm here to talk to I call it the Four Little Indians. Forsyth County, Kernersville, the DOT, and of course, Mr. Combs, who's building the houses across the street from me. In the last probably 5 weeks, I've suffered water damage. Now, I know we had a 24-inch line break here in Kernersville, near Kernersville, on our water supply. I have two 24-inch lines, runoffs, that go directly into my yard. They don't go anywhere else, into my yard. I've asked the city, and what I've come here to find out is who's the chief. I see a lot of Indians. If you recognize my hat, we got rid of the Indians, okay? I have a problem. I had to cancel all the lawn care that I've had paid for the last 10 years. I canceled them. And then on top of that, today, I got that nice bill in the mail for property tax. It says you owe more money. So what I'm trying to find out, who's the chief and who's the Indians? Because the next person I hire is going to be a big chief. And I asked for only two things, two very simple things. Restore my yard to what it was and remove one of the 24-inch lines. Now let me explain that. One 24-inch line that I want removed goes from Linville Springs Road right to my yard. Doesn't go anywhere else. It comes from Linville Springs Road, and now I've got a red mud yard. Somebody has to control this, and I've talked to Mr. Combs and the DOT together. Mr. Combs said, "Well, I'm sorry about that." Well, I'm sorry he's not going to pay to fix my yard up. Now, what's concerning me also is where all this rain is going to in the yard, there's also an air vent for the sewage for the city, an air vent in their pipe. So sooner or later, that pipe's going to start filling up with red mud. Now, my grass is now 12 inches high. I can't cut it. I can't do anything with it. We're not going to touch it. I've got ruts in the yard a foot deep. What I'm asking the city is to find out what's going on. I understand that the city has fined this company money. That doesn't help me at all. And I've been here for 13 years, and I actually worked here in this town 50 years ago in one of the first construction companies here. And we just got to take some care. I think the city of Kernersville is growing too fast, too fast. That's all I had to say. I wanted to come back here and find out who the chiefs were. I know the mayor, I've talked to the mayor by email, and a couple other people by email. But all I do is get this, pointing to the next person. DOT says, no, it's Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs says, no, it's you. So one of you have to get it straight and find out who's controlling what in this town. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So you've been also talking with Wendy Hardup, and Chris Jensen works with her. He's out of town currently. But Mr. Swisher, have you been looped into this one? Do you know where it stands? I know Wendy's been in communication with a lot of people, but she's copying me on some of the emails.
And I should say that one 24-inch line that I wanted removed has never had a drop of water come through it until the new construction opened up, and they tapped into that sewer line.
From an email I have from Wendy Hardup to Mr. Wangett on July the 7th, it says, in regards to the pipes in your yard, the subdivision was likely approved with the pipe from the junction box in your yard. So one of the pipes, the developer put the pipe in.
Yeah, that had to be done back prior to 2006, before my house was built.
So can't tell you. It was approved, pipe was in there, the developer put it in for whatever reason. The town cannot remove or block the junction box, which is the other one, as that is owned by DOT. So DOT owns one of the pipes. I don't know what DOT has told him. It's most likely the pipe going under Linville Springs Road into his yard and on to wherever it goes.
Well, I presume that junction box has multiple pipes coming into it.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I'm just reading.
And I
email.
just
don't
wanted
know.
the one blocked off, because everything from across the street, all the red mud from across the street is now feeding under Linville Springs Road. So basically, all runoff on Linville Springs Road goes to my house. which is, JR shaking his head, he knows it, he lives right across the street from me.
And that is not uncommon. For instance, all the runoff in my neighborhood from the top of the hill down to the bottom goes in my yard.
Now, I've talked to neighbors down on Rockford Road. There's at least 2 that I know have had their houses flood from this water runoff.
And that, on Rockford Road, I do know that water runoff has been going on for years.
And
You're talking about at the end of Rockford Road before you make a
It
right?
comes from my house.
Yeah.
It runs the river down through all the people's
So-
backyards, down into the lake, and there's I guess a catch basin down there. I went down, they inspected it the other day, and I found out that catch basin now is a red catch basin.
He's had an issue before this. I think the development that is taking place across the street has probably worsened that issue. Obviously, he's shown that it has. We have contacted DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, to come out and check to see if there's ways to reduce the sediment load. I don't know what was determined from that. So,
Well, their suggestion was, we'll get rid of the red mud, we'll just let the water come through your yard. Gentlemen,
Do you have the contact info for the NCDOT? It sounds like maybe they're the next people to talk to.
I've talked to everybody in this Forsyth County, your controller at Forsyth County, I guess. He was talking to the owner of the property together in my front yard. And they were both pointing their fingers like this. And then all of a sudden they said, you, Kernersville, is the one because you would not approve certain drainage on the new property. So we're in a catch basin, we're in a catch 22 here, okay?
Do you have any insights? Because that's,
No, that's stormwater, and I do know that Wendy's been out there, because I've seen those emails going back and forth between Wendy and Chris, but that would be the engineering and public services issue, and I'm not familiar with the comment about that we wouldn't approve something, and so therefore it
There's
was
something
done
about a
certain way.
drainage over at the new property, they wouldn't let it go into their catch basin. I walked over there when we had the heavy rain, I walked across the street and I sunk up to my knees in red mud, and I looked at their catch basin, it was already overflowing at that time. We have a lot of pictures, I got motion pictures, my neighbor has motion pictures of the river going by his house, I call it the Red River now, going by his house. I had no problem with the 124-inch line coming across the street from my house. The water's clear and it dries up within a day. This one hasn't dried up yet.
were both of those, have both of those lines been there since you owned the house, or was one of
Yes.
them? So they were both there?
Yeah,
when
but
you-
the one was not had any water running in the last 10 years.
I don't know. I mean,
I didn't know there was flooding there when I bought the house.
well, we clearly can't. There's parties involved in this, like the NCDOT, DEQ, who are not here tonight. Curtis, could you follow up with Wendy and Chris when they become available?
yeah, be glad to.
Because I think Wendy's out of the office.
Wendy and Chris both.
So they're the 2 people that
Well, I do
work
think,
on stormwater. So, and I know you've emailed with them, but Curtis is the town manager, so he'll follow up with them when they're available. And
well, I do thank
they'll-
you because you responded to me within an hour, which I was very happy about.
Oh, thank
I
you.
thought for a minute there was nobody going to listen to anything.
Well, it's important, and Wendy and Chris have done a good job at getting to the bottom of things in the past. Sometimes there's not anything the town can do, but they're good at investigating things.
And
It's
I
been my
understand
past
it.
experience with them, so it's likely they're working on trying to figure out what the facts are.
And Nate Griner, who's with NCDQ, was coming out. I don't know if he ever did.
I talked to Nate.
Did Nate come out? Okay, so I'll follow up and kind of see where it stands. It sounds like there may be some sediment runoff from the Combs development that should not be occurring right now. So I don't know.
I'm
The
under
only
the
thing I
understanding
can
that-
tell you about water is it usually runs downhill. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about it,
The
but
construction job is stopped. I mean, they haven't been there in 2 weeks.
yeah.
From my understanding, they froze it and they're finding them. I don't know.
Again, that's in Chris's
Yeah,
department.
that's Chris and Wendy's.
So we need to figure out kind of if there's anything else the town can do to help you.
Appreciate it.
Since this has been ongoing and everything, and like it's just pretty much telephone at this point, I would say, is how you're describing it. Would it be beneficial to try to get a meeting of the people together?
Our folks have been out on site.
I
Wendy
know,
and
but like with
Chris.
DOT, that way if
and
somebody's pointing
DOT,
fingers,
yeah.
then they have to point it to somebody's face.
You need to get all four of the people in the room and find out who's pointing what finger at what.
I mean, that might be something, if emails aren't enough, trying to get a sit down.
Yeah, and I know Wendy and Chris have been out on site. I think Nate has, because in the email Wendy sent that I was copied on, she was going to try and get Nate to meet out on site there. I don't know if they all met with Mr. Wygant or not, but I'll get with them and find out. And
I've
see
only
if we
met
can-
with two. I've met with Nate and the builder.
Okay, so we can try and get everybody.
Yeah, I've witnessed firsthand what Dave is talking about.
Yeah, and I think you sent a
Every time it
video.
rains, it's all going right through his yard.
It's like a river. I might as well buy a boat.
And it is like a river when we get a real downpour going up through there. It really is what he's saying it is.
And I think you sent a video in one of the emails.
I
didn't you?
sent a video to the city,
Yeah, I saw that.
And I know, I think it's Mark down the end of the street on Rockford. He's at the corner house. His garage was flooded with 7 inches of water in it.
So is he the one when you go to the end of your and JR Street and make a left,
Yeah, he's right at the bottom.
right at the bottom as you go in the curve?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen his years ago, and he had a lot of water years ago, so I
Yeah,
imagine
he's been here longer than me, so.
he's probably got a whole lot of water now. Yeah, when our folks get back in, we'll get with them and see if we can get Nate to come back out.
Okay, I got it on recording, so we're good.
Yeah, it's on
Thank
your
you.
I know
TV.
where JR lives and I know where the mayor lives.
Yeah, and it's on the Kernersville YouTube channel too, so you can just
Thank you.
fast forward to minute whatever of this meeting.
Yep. Did you include your phone number in one of the emails, or does Wendy or someone have it? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come here tonight. Okay, we are.
Miss Mayor, just one quick question. You lower the property tax. You know, down at the end of your street at Rockford Road, my brother-in-law lives right on the county line. His taxes are a bit cheaper.
Ah, but the services. Call the Kernersville Police Department when your neighbor has a loud party. All right. And the trash pickup. There's some services. I think my favorite is if it's your trash day and it snows the night, that night before, you're the first residential street to get plowed, so. What? We plowed at the county line and then it's your, so. All righty, we will get back to the public session. This has been, I think all the speakers from the floor that signed up, and we're basically out of time for that part of the agenda according to our rules. So we are to item 2B, which is a preliminary subdivision review. So it's a little different than a rezoning. And I think everyone who may be interested in that case probably was at the planning board meeting where that got explained. But so it's a public session and not a public hearing, but we do take comments during a public session. It's a little different than a rezoning by laws from the state as to a subdivision review. So this is Scott Wallace, agent for owner Keystone Group, Inc., for a 73-lot subdivision, Brookford Village. So it's a Brookford Village subdivision and a preliminary subdivision plan. So again, we'll begin with a presentation by our Community Development Director, Catherine Garner.
The petitioner for tonight's preliminary subdivision plan is Scott Wallace, who is the agent for Keystone Group Incorporated, the property owner. The current zoning on this property is RS 20, so residential single-family 20,000 square foot minimum lot size. There is no zoning request on the docket as part of this. The developer is seeking to develop this with the existing zoning that's on the property. The property in total is just shy of 59 acres at 58.8 acres. He is proposing a plat of 73 single-family detached homes and 1 common area lot for a density of 1.24 units per acre. For context and to situate everyone, this parcel is located south of Interstate 40 and east of Brookford Road. It is currently in the town's ETJ, which is our extraterritorial jurisdiction. Property around it is predominantly zoned RS 20 with RS 30 to the south in Forsyth County. There have been 3 previous rezoning attempts that you may remember. All previously requested rezonings were denied by the Board of Aldermen. So at this time, the applicant seeks to develop under the existing RS20 zoning designation. The preliminary subdivision plan process is administrative in nature and requires approval if all subdivision regulations are met. As I mentioned, the plot or the plat for the area shows 73 single-family lots and 1 centrally located common area lot around the West Fork of the Deep River, which runs north to south, more or less in the middle of the parcel. 17 units are located to the east of the West Fork of the Deep River and proposed to be accessed off of Volta Drive, and 56 lots are located on the west side of the West Fork of the Deep River and accessed from Brookford Road. A set of cluster box units are located on each side of the subdivision, so you don't have to drive too far to check your mail. And a 20-foot street yard required by the Highway Corridor Overlay District is shown along I-40 frontage with an access and maintenance easement to allow for the homeowners association's upkeep. All internal roads are proposed to be built to NCDOT standards and dedicated for state maintenance, as the subdivision is located in the ETJ and is not proposing annexation. We don't have town streets outside of the town limits, so we would not have town streets in this subdivision. NCDOT has been a part of the review process and has provided feedback on the proposal. For the entrance on Brookford Road, NCDOT has stated that the added traffic from the subdivision would warrant a turn lane at the primary entrance, and has stated that further roadway improvements or widening will be reviewed by NCDOT at the time of that driveway permit application to help facilitate development. Volta Drive has had quite some scrutiny as part of this from the neighbors, and so we've gone through the records and we've specifically spoken to DOT about this. So some history or high-level history. In June of 1989, Volta Drive was established as a non-exclusive perpetual right-of-way easement. In May of 1995, it was dedicated as a public right-of-way to meet UDO requirements for a recombination and subdivision plan, but the improvements were waived by the Board of Aldermen at that time. In January of 1997, improvements were waived again by the Board of Aldermen for a recombination and subdivision plan. The town asked the residents on Volta Drive to sign a release of liability for the town for emergency response in case of access issues on the unimproved road. So after review by the North Carolina Department of Transportation, it was determined that in order for a driveway permit to be issued for the eastern portion of the development, improvements will be required for Volta Drive. Volta Drive will be required to be brought up to NCDOT minimum standards and a petition presented for DOT to accept the road for maintenance. And the NCDOT driveway permit would be issued with the state system road addition per North Carolina Department of Transportation's provided comments. So they are aware that there will be some additional requirements for Volta Drive, and this is what NCDOT has provided us specifically. As I mentioned, this is an administrative review, so we are looking at staff, we're looking at the requirements of the ordinance and whether or not they have been met. Article 10, Section 10.1 establishes general provisions and administrative requirements for the regulation of subdivisions. Staff findings have been that the requirements of this section are met. Easements have been shown as required, and a homeowners association is required to be established at or before the time of final plat. Section 10.2 establishes development standards for subdivisions, including conformance with zoning requirements, frontage along right-of-way, access to utilities, and basic amenities. Staff finds that the requirements of Article 10, Section 10.2 have been met. The lots are in conformance with the dimensional requirements of the RS20 zoning district, and a greenway easement is shown in the common parcel along the west fork of the Deep River. As far as the road frontage goes that we're checking for under 10.2, the right-of-way frontage is provided, as all internal roads are intended to be developed to state standards and dedicated as such. Utility easements have been provided, and connection to the Winston-Salem Forsyth County water and sewer system will be required. And the cluster mailbox units have been provided and will need to have a width of at least 8.5 feet to meet parking dimensional requirements on street. This will be confirmed at the time of civil construction review. Article 10.6 establishes development standards and the definition for major subdivisions, including but not limited to compliance with zoning district dimensional standards, access requirements, notification requirements, and preliminary plat requirements. Staff finds that with the creation of 3 or more lots and public right-of-way being constructed, this proposal meets our ordinance's definition of a major subdivision. As stated previously, all shown lots meet the requirements of the RS20 zoning district, and the final plat is required to be filed with the Register of Deeds following administrative review of the document. That final plat is what makes the lots available for individual sale. This is what gets the developer started on construction of roads and laying of utilities in preparation of that final plat. Staff also finds that internal streets are to become part of the state system. Improvements will be required for both Brookford Road and Volta Drive prior to issuance of the North Carolina Department of Transportation driveway permit. They will control all of the permit and plan review for any improvements that will be made to either of those streets as they are in their purview. Sidewalks are not required as curb and gutter is not shown. Access and frontage requirements are met for all lots. Notices of public meeting have been provided exceeding the 10-day requirement, and the proposed plan is intended to satisfy the requirement of a preliminary plat. So these are verifications that the developer has met the minimum standards of our ordinance for a preliminary plat. So as a summary, this is a preliminary subdivision plan for a by right development of a 58.8 tract of land into 73 single-family residential lots and 1 common lot. The proposal does not require an amendment of either the zoning designation or the land use plan, which is why this is an administrative hearing rather than a public hearing. The parcel is located in our extraterritorial jurisdiction and are not requesting annexation, so the solid waste services will not be handled by the town, and emergency services will be handled by the appropriate agency in conformance with existing agreements between agencies. The proposal has been found to be in congruence with the character of the surrounding development and is in conformance with the requirements of the RS20 zoning district, as well as the Article 10 subdivision regulations. One of the other things that isn't touched on, but I've heard a lot in the lead up to this meeting, is about the stormwater. We've certainly heard about it tonight. One of the previous concerns from the rezoning was about the stormwater and the density of the development with the RS20 development standards and the number of lots that are being proposed. The state's regulations are no longer applicable for stormwater. It is considered a low density development, so that is not part of this application, but the developer and the plat is in proposal or in conformance with state standards for stormwater based on the development being proposed. Staff's recommendation and planning board's recommendation was approval of the preliminary subdivision plan as presented in the staff report, and all members present at the July meeting voted in favor. Be happy to answer any questions.
So does this plat show street names?
It does not, but at the time of final plat, it will.
So would the new would the new street there be named Volta, or since it?
Likely
gonna-
not. It will probably have its own name because we typically change street names at intersections.
Okay. So if the people who connect to Volta Drive currently, I mean, it'll be all outside of town limits. How are they, what kind of process is there for them to connect smoothly to a improved Volta versus the Volta as it currently stands, like from their driveway?
Are you speaking about during construction or the improvements to Volta?
And after, we've had that trouble in other parts.
I think she's talking about the driveways actually going out of the driveway onto Volta Drive.
Yeah, people who currently go in and out of their home.
That will be,
On Volta.
that'll be monitored by DOT.
Okay.
They'll have to show those connections as part of any road construction plans that DOT will review.
Yeah, nothing, I mean, the roads will be entirely DOT. Whether or not Volta Drive gets connected will be up to DOT. He's showing it on the plat. If DOT allows it to be connected, he has to bring it up to those standards or whatever. It's not up to the town.
Okay.
At that point, it's up to DOT and it's up to them as far as everything with Volta Drive and the other on the west side of the creek as well. Both roads will be DOT roads.
Okay.
And just kind of to reiterate what Ms. Garner said, this is a preliminary subdivision approval. I think that's the name of it. It's not a rezoning. In these type of approvals, if the developer hits all of the check boxes and it's checked off, it's an approval by state statute. So we've had very few of these in the past. We've probably had maybe 5 or 6 that I can think of in the last 10 or 15 years. And it is. And Ms. Garner also mentioned the stormwater ponds. You all, with the exception of Alderman Pigram, Alderman Sabanis, were on the board. When the developer came in with the previous proposal that got turned down, he had stormwater ponds in that proposal, everything to help with flooding. They're not required in this now. It's being built as it is zoned. He can build it as zoned by right. And as long as he meets the subdivision requirements, then it's basically approval by right.
All right, so if the DOT approves the Volta connection and it gets approved according to the DOT standards, if the people who get into their homes via Volta right now have issues, their complaint would be to the NCDOT. The town doesn't have any jurisdiction over it.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Ms.
That would
Garner?
have been different had it been a rezoning, because part of the rezoning was it would be annexed into the town of Kernersville, at which point we would have had jurisdiction over it. But now it's not. You're hearing it because it's in the ETJ, but it will not be annexed into the town of Kernersville.
I would like to add that all 3 of those rezonings that were turned down, that was brought up by Curtis at all 3 of those meetings.
Okay, any other questions of Catherine at the moment?
So while we're being asked to approve this, we really don't have any choice. Is that oversimplification?
No, I think that's accurate based on the reading of state statutes. It's if they meet the standards for the approval shall be granted.
And if the board denies it, you have to say what basis you're denying it on. The developer goes back and makes that correction so that it meets subdivision standards and it's right back here before you. And if you can't deny it and not give them an option of making it where it meets the standard.
If we do otherwise, then it's a matter of litigation in Superior Court.
And it's a matter of losing in Superior Court.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, I do have someone signed up to speak. It is a public session, so that's appropriate. Mr. Joe Hampton, if you'd like to speak.
hope you're all doing well. Sometimes I'm loud, so if I'm too loud, just tell me and I'll back up. My name's Joe Hampton, and I live at 1835 Volta Drive. I'm representing the homeowners that reside on Volta Drive, including my family. That includes the Hamptons, mine. The Hills and the Halls are both on vacation this week, unfortunately. I do know that Mr. Hall sent some paperwork in for you guys to look at. I hope you receive that. We all oppose the Brookford Village subdivision using Volta Drive as access to the proposed subdivision. We all built our homes prior to 2000 on this 8-foot gravel road because we didn't want to obviously be on a paved road with all the traffic. The property for the subdivision was purchased with only access from Brookford Road, and our lives and property we don't feel should be upended to put in that subdivision. We live on, I don't know if there's a picture, but we live on the back half of Volta Drive, and it is an 8-foot gravel drive. So come in and improve it. I mean, we don't have another exit strategy. There's no way, there's woods surrounding all of us. So we'd like to know how, and this, I think this is probably for the DOT, especially if you approve it tonight. And we are in touch with the North Carolina DOT. We have an appointment with them, but I did want to just go on record saying that we do oppose it. We had some questions as far as the floodplain boundaries, but I'm assuming those are all met as far as you know? Okay. Yeah, they should all be met for the subdivision, yes. By state statute and our ordinance is what he has to do regarding that.
So, and this is on page 3 of the list. I know that Mr. Rick Hall sent you guys, but who assumes responsibility of the development increases flooding on adjacent properties?
At that point, if he meets the requirements of the state statute, I would assume at that point, if it increases flooding, it would be a civil matter between the neighbors and the property owner.
Okay, I just wanted to check and see.
Yeah.
And as far as the roadway access approvals, they have not been approved at this point. That's going to the DOT, correct?
That will be the next step as part of the civil construction plans. If this is approved, then they will start applying for permits and get all of that in line after they receive the preliminary plat approval.
Okay. The other question I have that maybe you can explain to me, in 1995, when we applied to build our house, at that time, the board asked us to dedicate Volta Drive, which was put in by my family at that time, because of issues they were having on Steen Road, which was a private road, between the road owner and the folks that lived on the road. So that, at that time, there were 3 houses on Steen Road. So before we could build our home, we were forced to dedicate the road to the town. And at that time, they said, of course, we're just doing this. There won't be any issues later down the road. Since then, Steen Road has added an additional 3 houses and remains private. So we're kind of feeling like we were duped, if that makes sense. And I mean, is that still a regulation, or is that just something that was going on at that time? Or?
My understanding of what happened in 1995 was there were lots being proposed to be added, and we have a regulation on the number of lots that can be located on a private access easement. So as part of the discussion about approving the additional lot, and then I think some lots were changing sizes or lot lines were moving, the discussion was brought up that now it was time that the properties be brought into conformance by requiring the public road and the public access easement as opposed to just an access easement that might be deeded to certain lots. So it was a requirement based on the number of lots that were off of Volta Drive being proposed at that time. And then the board decided that since it was so few houses, they wouldn't require the upgrade to the road to change it from just the narrow gravel road to be like a ribbon paved, just, lay of asphalt. I think that was a request by the neighbors at the time, and the Board of Aldermen granted it. But My understanding and reading of the minutes is that the requirement was based on the number of lots. I think there were also some issues going on Steen Road. I don't know that off the top of my head, Steen Road is in our jurisdiction. So if the county has approved
Steen
additional.
Road is adjacent to
Yeah,
us. Yeah,
but
so-
I don't know that it's in our ETJ.
It is.
Is it in the ETJ?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
If you look at the plat that you had up there for the development, you'll see Steen Road. It's adjacent to us. I mean,
Right, but it may not be in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, so we may not be approving the subdivision plats if there have been some on Steen Road. That's what I don't know off the top of my head. But that's the history of what I know from looking through the record about why Volta Drive went from being a private access easement to a public road, but wasn't required to be upgraded at the time.
okay, all right.
For purposes of the timeline for this gentleman, is it my understanding that because of where it is on the agenda, that it's for the next meeting that we would act to approve that site plan, or is it tonight? Okay, just wanted to be sure.
Okay, all right. That's what that's the main things after I heard Mr. Swisher talk about, the drainage and I kind of understand that the access for us, is something that we'll continue to work on. And thank you for hearing me. If any questions at all, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who wants to speak on this item? All right, what is the decision of the board? We've heard Ms. Garner's presentation. You want to use your microphone?
I'm out of practice. Given the fact that this is basically, we don't really have any discretion in it, I guess for formality, I would move that we approve this preliminary site plan.
Second.
Okay, a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan by Mr. Apple, second by Alderman Savanas. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, anything else on this item, Mr. Swisher? All right, moving on then to consideration of a special event request for the Savage Roasters 5K event. Coffee for a Cause.
Yeah, this is, I think the fourth year maybe for the event. It's been a very successful event. The money raised, I think about all of the money that's raised goes to help fund research for breast cancer. He's asking to do it on October the 4th, 2026. Start at 9 a.m. into noon. Expecting roughly about 1,000 people. I think that's what he's had in the past. He's worked well with the PD. Chief Merritt's has worked with him in the past, come up with a course. It's usually on Sunday morning. I'm thinking it's Sunday morning this year also, correct? Yep, so it's a Sunday morning. Not a whole lot of traffic on the road on Sunday mornings. I think he goes, utilizes Cherry Street, goes over to the Greenway, then down the Greenway and back. So staff recommending approval of it. As I said, never had an issue with it in the past. Savage Roasters, Josh Pratt is one that coordinates it and puts it on. So good event.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I had a motion by Alderman Spanis. I thought I heard a second from Alderman Thompson. All in favor? All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, I think we probably ought to take a quick break, so let us stand in recess. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. We'll pick up with item D in the public session, which is discussion and consideration of a resolution setting the public hearing for a moratorium on data centers and related facilities.
Madam Mayor, Board, as you all are aware, these are popping up everywhere throughout the country, a lot of them throughout North Carolina. They just had discussion involving one in Rural Hall last week, I think. We don't currently have anything in our UDO specific to data centers. So I think right now they could locate probably in any LI or GI zoning. Is that correct, as far as you know?
That would be the likely place. We don't have that defined as a use, so if somebody were to propose one, then we would have to work on finding that, but that would be the type of zoning district that it would go in.
And so LI, we have some LI and maybe even some GI. It's in fairly close proximity to some residential. And so without any specific regulations surrounding the data centers and whatnot, we felt it's probably best to have a moratorium on those until we can come up with some regulations to present to the board. The good thing is, Catherine and I've talked about it, neither of us really know where there would be a location in Kernersville for a large data center, meaning 300-400 acres. I just don't know of that much contiguous land in town where they could put one. So in all likelihood, if we had one come in, it would probably be in an existing industrial park, maybe even in an existing building. So either way, we thought it was probably a good time to call for the moratorium. I spoke with Alderman Sabanis about it as well, just with what's going on. So the first step is you have to adopt this ordinance setting or adopt a resolution setting a time and place for a public hearing. And then it is a public hearing involved in setting that moratorium. So if this passes, the public hearing will be August the 26th of this year. So it's your last meeting of the month. And then we would have you would adopt the moratorium, whether it be 6 months or a year, probably 6 months, what we would recommend. Then if it goes beyond that, we could extend it. And at the end of that time period, we would come back with some regulations for the board to consider regarding those.
Okay.
Supplying utilities is a big issue, as I understand, for data centers among those jurisdictions being exposed to applications.
That is one of the biggest, the biggest issues you hear about with them, their usage of electricity and their usage of water. They've kind of figured out both, especially the larger ones. A lot of them now, the one in Stokes County, actually, it was kind of tricky. The commissioners turned down the solar farm that would have powered the data center, and then they approved the data center. So I'm not real sure. It's kind of a little bit backwards there. My guess is probably the solar farm would come back and would probably have to be approved almost to power the data center. So electricity, a lot of them are coming in to do kind of the self-contained electricity with solar farms. I read about one the other day. It bought some type of old mill that had one of the water wheels, and they would use that to power the data center. The water, of course, is an issue. The early ones that came in, there's 3 big ones or 4 big ones in North Carolina, all of them located in pretty close proximity to a river or a lake, so that they could get that water. A lot of the newer ones, a lot of the requirements are requiring them to come in and provide their own water containment system. They bring in a couple million gallons of water, put it in the system, it recirculates through. Periodically, they have to go back in and add water back into the system. So a lot of folks that are approving those now are requiring that. I don't know that that would be something we would see, especially if one comes in and goes into an existing building in an industrial park. The largest challenge, or the biggest challenge we would probably have that we would want to be able to kind of regulate would be the noise from the cooling systems. They've found a way, from some of what I've heard about some of them around the country, is they are now putting some of those cooling systems inside and then somehow venting that system outside. Not sure how that works, but they are making the larger ones, especially where they're pretty much self-contained, and cooling is part of that.
If there's any reading that you read that you think would better educate us on that issue, I'd appreciate your sharing it with us.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find on it. I just see articles, and I'll Google and find some articles on them and read about them and see what others are doing. Especially, you usually hear about them when they come up for rezoning. See a lot of it on TikTok, and that's a real reliable source of information. So it's what I usually do is I see it on TikTok and I find out where it's at, and then I go Google and get the actual facts on it.
Let me address that if I could.
Yeah.
I went to a CLE, continuing legal education, a couple of weeks ago, and Adam Lovelady, who is the expert, the highest expert, I'd say, on zoning in North Carolina. And his whole presentation was on data centers. And he had a PowerPoint and all that. It's 54 pages. And I've got that online. I'll send it as a, what do you call it? One zip file kind of thing, yeah. Because you can't get a 54-page document on an email. But it is a very, very inclusive of all the good, the bad, and the ugly about data centers.
I'd appreciate it, because I have a lot to learn about it before I feel like I'm fulfilling my duty.
Thus the need for the moratorium.
Well, I think it's important to note that the moratorium is so we can create those regulations. It's not just a frivolous, we don't want any here per the state statute that regulates moratoriums. My understanding is this is just the time period for us to sit down and really update the UDO specifically around data centers and crypto mining and anything. I think it was other data processing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, are we ready to vote?
I move that we set a public hearing for August 26th, 2026. Is it the 26th or the 24th? What was the date?
Second.
To discuss the moratorium on data centers, crypto mining, and other data facilities.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Alderman Spanis, second by Alderman Pegram. It is the 26th. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, it'll be a little bit of hard work to get something pulled together in that time frame, so we appreciate staff's effort in doing so. All right, we are to item E, discussion and consideration of an agreement with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association for the state cross-country meet. Mr. Swisher.
Yeah, this is our agreement. Our current agreement has expired, so we now need the board to approve or deny the new agreement. The new agreement will be for 4 years with 1 or 2 4-year renewable terms. This year, we will, if board approves it, this will be the 17th state cross-country meet at Ivy. The host fee is $20,000. It's $20,150 for year 1 and 2. Year 3 and 4 is $20,750. Alderman Sabanis asked me a very good question. I usually put a memo of this, and I didn't. She said, well, do we get any of that $20,000 back? We do. We will. Last year, we had about $15,000 in revenue from the state meet itself. And it's what we do is is we look at the cross-country season as a whole, because we have a lot of meets at Ivy, a lot of smaller meets where we have 3 or 4 of the local high schools, either in, Davidson County, Forsyth County, or Guilford County. They'll come out and run, and they don't pay anything to rent the course, because it's basically stores, buildings open, get what you need, close it up when you're done, and roll on. So we don't provide anyone there. So we don't charge them. So we look at the season as a whole and see where we fall at the end of the year. So we have several big meets through the year. I think last year we probably, when it was all over with, netted about $2,500 through the year. Now, it's what that doesn't include is that does not include the occupancy tax that we get back that was derived from the meets. We get about $180,000, $200,000 in occupancy tax. Ernie and I were talking about it today. We figure probably 50% of the occupancy tax comes from events at the Parks and Rec event building, then about probably 35% from cross country, and then probably another 15% from baseball and soccer. So really, when you look at it, say $200,000, and about 35% of that from cross country. So we don't include that in the revenue for any sport, because we can't directly attribute what the occupancy tax, what sport it goes to. So overall, we look at it as a total of what we do for the season. Our goal is obviously to make a little profit. This year, we should see that jump significantly. We're anticipating probably about $50,000 to $55,000 in net profit this year from cross country, because as I told you earlier, a few months ago, we will now be the host of Friday Night Lights. So that revenue, the majority of that revenue should come to the town there. So the state meet, it costs us a little bit to host it, but it is the meet that kind of drives all the other meets. Without that, we would still have the smaller meets, simply because the local high schools have nowhere else to run. We would probably have some of the regional meets, but not as many. And then the national meets, we could get them. It's easier to get those national meets when the first thing you can put on the bid app is, hey, we've hosted the state meet for 17 or 18 years, whatever it may be. So staff supports it. Basically all the agreement, with the exception of it went up $200 in our host fee. All the rest of the agreement is the same. It is now a 2-day meet. When we first started hosting it, it was a 1-day meet. And so we've told them we will, as usual, we'll pay for the police and the meals on that 1 day, but we're not paying the second day. Y'all the ones that want to do it in 2 days, y'all figure out how to pay for it. So they've agreed to do that, and we'll still, otherwise it will be the same agreement that it has been in the past.
All right, anything more before we vote? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion for approval from Alderman Thompson.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item F, consideration of a resolution setting the public hearing for a voluntary annexation for property at 1519 NC 66 South, 0 NC 66 South, 0 Kernersville Medical Parkway, and 0 Beeson Road. And this is an annexation from the Linville Family LLC. 54.695 acres, more or less. Mr. Swisher?
Are they asking to continue this?
They have not given me a final answer. So when I spoke to the attorney representing the case, I said today that we would have you set the hearing, and then if at the hearing date they had requested to continue, then we could continue it again. So at this point, they are proceeding with an annexation, and we would like a hearing set for September 1st. I believe that's the September Alderman date for that annexation.
Madam Mayor, I move that we set that date for the hearing on voluntary annexation.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. It was Apple and Thompson. Did you get it? Okay. And I quick checked the date for everyone. All right. Item G, consideration of a fire protection agreement with the town of Walkertown.
We have had an agreement with Walkertown since 2014 to provide fire services along a designated area along West Mountain Street, and they're asking to continue that agreement. It will be for 1 year, expires June the 30th of 2027, and they're asking to pay us $18,000 for that one year term of that agreement. Actually, the term shall be from, I told you wrong, we'll invoice them every year, but it's from July 1st, 2026, June 30th of 2031, and then we can extend it 5 years. So we have no issue with doing that. As I said, we've been doing it now since 2014. So they provide mutual aid to us as well in situations where we need it. So we will be happy to return the mutual aid.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion for approval by Alderman Sabanis.
Second.
Second by Alderman Peakrum. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, H is consideration of an ordinance for Budget Amendment 1 for fiscal year 26-27. Mr. Swisher?
See, I'll let y'all off one meeting without a budget amendment. This is our first budget amendment, obviously, of the fiscal year, and this is the one where we carry over all the projects and all the equipment that was budgeted last year, but we've either not completed it or we've not purchased it. So it's for $4.1 million, I think, is a budget amendment. Roughly $3.3 million of that is in projects that are carrying over. So the other $800,000 is kind of what we look at. $400,000 of that we're not really spending. We're moving it to the capital reserve fund for Parks and Recreation. Several years ago, the board said, we've got a certain amount that we'll transfer to capital reserve fund for Parks and Recreation. It's what they collect in parking fees and things like that. So we've got some going there. And then we've got some projects that we've closed out, about $270,000 that we will transfer over to help with the sidewalk on Mountain Street when it comes in. We have about $260,000 that we need to increase to pay the city of High Point. I think that came up during the budget process. We have an agreement with High Point for area, what we call in the triangle. The biggest project in there now is North Point's project right there off Mason Grove Road. So when we budgeted, we did not have the figures for that. We do have it now. So that's about $260,000. And then we also need to add some more money in the budget where the board approved last month hiring the police officers earlier. So those together make up about all of that $800,000. So again, you've got $800,000, but $400,000 of it's just moving over to go to another future project instead of taking it out of the unassigned general fund.
Remind me, how long is our agreement with High Point?
I think it is 50 years, pretty long time.
And we've been in it for what, 10? Has it been 10?
I was the mayor when we entered into it. So it's been
20 years?
It's been about 20.
So still 30 years.
And really for the first 16 of it, we didn't have to pay them anything. There was the only thing that was there, if you go to basically to the end of Medical Parkway, turn right on the Mason Grove Road, cross over 40, the apartments are on the left. Can't remember the name of them now. For years, that's all that was in the agreement. was those apartments. And then North Point, North Point came in and built their commercial buildings, and that jumped it up. So, but fortunately, the good thing is, without that agreement, we wouldn't have the North Point, because we wouldn't be able to provide it with sewer and water. So I think it's a 50-year agreement. I'm pretty sure it's 50 years.
So most of us won't renew it. It'll be a different board that will renew the 50-year.
I'm hoping I'm not here. I mean, I hope I'm kind of still around, but not in this chair when it expires.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Apple to approve the budget amendment that was proposed.
Second.
Got a second by Alderman Sabanis. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item I, consideration of a resolution authorizing an application for funding from the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This is I think probably the 10th year, maybe 10th, 12th year that we've received this. Is it DUI task force? Yeah, it's helps with the DUI task force. Federal dollar amounts, $22,440. We've already put in the budget our $67,000 contribution. So we have our match. This is to apply for the match from the federal government.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by Alderman Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Pegram. All in favor of approval? It's unanimous. All right, item J, consideration of a resolution declaring the badge and service weapon of Michael Pearson as surplus and authorizing disposal. And as a reminder to everyone, that is done at the point in time a police officer retires.
Madam Mayor, I move that we authorize, that we adopt a resolution declaring the badge and service weapon of Officer Michael Pearson as surplus and authorize disposal of it to him.
Got a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. We thank him for his service, and Curtis will be able to present and Chief Tilley the badge and service weapon to him upon his retirement celebration. So, all right, town manager's report and miscellaneous.
All I have is what you have in your packet. It is a memorandum of understanding between the town of Kernersville and West Salem for Site County School System for use of the fields, cross-country course areas down at Ivy Redmond Sports Complex. They are a big user there. They do it this way. That way they don't have to send in a certificate of insurance for every time they use it, whether it be for softball, soccer, whatnot. This covers all of it. So we're getting ready to start the seasons, and they start school next week, and they'll probably be down there next week.
Okay, do I have a motion to
I
approve?
have a question. Just,
Go ahead.
do they pay us for use of the fields, or do we just let them?
They pay us for games on the softball field and the soccer field, I think, and then it varies for the meets as far as cross country goes. And they don't pay us for practice, do they, Ernie?
Ernie, could you come forward and speak
And
from the
they
microphone?
they pay for
Ernie.
games, and they then charge for the games. And the reason we don't charge them for practice is they can't recover any of that from that.
So for the baseball fields, they pay us a negotiated price for games. And then the price, whatever price they were paying core prior to us gaining control of our fields again, we've kept the same cost per game. They practice for free, and then they run the meets, whatever certain meets they pay, certain meets they don't. Depends on if they trigger a certain level.
I was just curious. Thank you, Ernie.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the Winston-Salem for Sykes County Schools Memorandum of Understanding memorandum of understanding for the use of the Ivy Redmond Sports Complex as proposed.
Second.
And a motion by Alderman Apple, second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And I actually have one more item, Mr. Hooker
Can I,
reminded me.
before we move on, so I try to notice things, just that maybe we ought to change kind of as I go along with my everyday life of a mom of children and all that. But I was on, probably Apple Maps, but Apple Maps and Google Maps, I was wondering if we could check. I think they still have Ivy Redmond Park as Beeson Park on some of those applications. So if we could kind of check how it's being represented to the world, which I think could cause a lot of confusion given how well advertised and marketed Ivy Redmond Park is as a location. So it said, it basically, part of it was right. The event center was right, but it also had a little tree icon indicating a park, and it said Beeson Park, and it wasn't referring to the road. I almost feel like it maybe was right, and then it popped up wrong again,
It does have Beeson Park listed on Apple, but it's got also at this location, Kernersville Parks and Rec and Beeson Park and Ivy Redmond. Yeah.
Have you got your speaker on, Curtis?
Yeah, so that was Apple. I think Google is correct, but I don't know 100%.
I think it's because I clicked on the tree.
Yeah, I thought Google had it as Ivy. So we'll see what we can do about Apple, and we'll look at the others to see if it's different. So you can click on the tree. We'll check on it, see.
Okay. Just, as people are navigating there, it'd be nice to have it as clear as possible. And it's been years that the park has had the changed name.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Question on that, which dog park did we name after Joe?
After who?
Joe Penix.
The one at Ivy Redmond.
But that says Ivy Redmond Dog Park.
Yeah, we'll look into
Just
changing it.
FYI.
Yep. Thank you. I had not seen it on that. I don't use Apple, so I've not seen it.
Do you have anything else?
Is it a way we could just go through and check all of them and make sure everything is
Yeah,
good?
we'll check them, yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know how many there are, but we'll check them, so.
All of our, I
And
guess
some
all
of
of our
them we can,
parks.
some of them we can get changed, some of them aren't as cooperative as others to change it, but yeah, we'll check them all.
Some of it picks up by how somebody described it, probably, now with how things work, if there's an old piece of information on the website, it may pull from that. But if we keep our marketing and our Parks and Rec websites up to date, that should help too.
Yeah, yep, we can do that. Good on that.
Mm-hmm.
The other item I had, I was talking with Alderman Sabanis today about the confusion that occurs for folks out along Union Cross Road on the west side of Union Cross Road that have a 27284 zip code and a Kernersville address, and they think they live in Kernersville, but they really live in Winston-Salem. So, and it continues to be confusing when, the media gets out and reports things and things happen and this and that. So we were talking about, changing the zip code or reviewing the boundary or whatever it may be. So there's some different options that we might can do. She sent me a link and Keith and I looked at it. And one of them is, the elected officials of the municipality can ask for a boundary review. So if you all would like to do that, we'll check into it, because at some point, it may need a resolution from the board or whatever. But before we started, we just want to know if you all were okay with that. We'll check into it see what it entails. Probably in all likelihood, they'll be pretty specific about it. We'll have to tell them what roads that we want out of, being addressed as Kernersville. It might be that we can get it to be Winston-Salem with the same zip code, or they might create a new zip code. I doubt it. There's a little bit of background. We have asked for this in the past. We asked, Winston-Salem also asked, and the answer was, no, we're good. It's not a problem for us, which it's not. I mean, it's not a problem for the post office, but it is sometimes a problem for other folks. We get a lot of calls, not just from Union Cross, but we get a lot of calls from folks with the Kernersville 27284 zip code that do not live in Kernersville. We probably had 50 calls or more during the snow wanting to know why we had not plowed their street. And we informed them that they did not live in Kernersville. And not only had we not plowed their street, we would not be plowing their street. They didn't really like that, but and it is confusing. So if the board's good with that, we'll look into it at Union Cross and maybe some other areas to see what's involved in it. And I think probably getting the area that is actually in the city limits of Winston-Salem changed might be doable. I don't think you'll get the areas that are in the county changed, but I do think you can maybe go through and get those areas that are actually in the city limits of Winston-Salem changed over to say Winston-Salem.
I'd be worried about emergency services and confusion, then it becomes critical.
Yeah, and I mean, Union Cross is a little bit, fortunately, PD and fire have kind of worked it out. They, if it's in the middle of the road, they both go and kind of work it out. But I think it'll help some. I mean, it still won't solve some of the confusion people have, but it will help some. So if y'all are in favor of it, we'll look into it a little bit. May have to come back to you all to get a formal resolution or something.
Because I was looking in Embark Drive. The southernmost part of it is Winston-Salem 27107, but just north, but like above the Bluestone Lane intersection is Kernersville, but it's all Winston-Salem. And also the tax website said that one of the addresses was in Walnut Cove.
That's not bad. It's pretty close. They'd probably like to have the Walnut Cove tax rate.
It's confusing for people coming out to vote too.
It is. It is. And unfortunately, I mean, when they buy the house, the realtor doesn't bother to tell them, hey, you don't live in Kernersville. And a lot of folks, I mean, they escrow the property tax into their tax bill. So they don't know who they're paying their taxes to.
It's also up to the homeowner to become educated on where they live.
Yeah.
And that's not just the case there. It's Guilford County has Kernersville addresses.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's not just one area. It's the surrounding of any municipality as to someone understanding and educating themselves as to what their address is and where they're located.
And we found out a lot of them don't take upon themselves that self-education.
I think for me, like the biggest concern is you not knowing who to call if you're paying Winston-Salem taxes with a Kernersville address. Like county, I think I think people generally know when they're in the county, maybe not. Common sense isn't for everybody, but I wouldn't, like if I had lived on one of these roads, I probably would have never realized that I wasn't in Kernersville, a Kernersville taxpayer, when I am paying some cities' taxes.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point to not try and concern about unincorporated areas. That's just areas that are in Winston-Salem.
And that's what we would do. Most of it is centered right there around Union Cross Road that's in the city of Winston. I mean, it goes up Sedge Garden Road. Some of it down Hastings Hill. Probably what we would do initially is just look at the area right there around Sedge Garden Road, see what's involved in that. And then if we're successful with that, we'll take the other areas that are in Winston-Salem city limits with a Kernersville address and take that on after we see how successful we are with the area right around Sedge Garden. That's the biggest area that's actually in the city of Winston with a Kernersville address.
You need a vote on moving forward.
Yep, just a vote tonight, and then if we need to, we'll come back. You can give us the vote to move forward to see what's involved in it and if we can get it done.
My motion to approve moving forward with everything you just said.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Sabanis. All in favor? It's unanimous. Keith, as the clerk, do you have any questions as to what was included in that motion Mr. Thompson made?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. What's next?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Mr. Powell.
Madam Mayor and Board, I've sent you email, all of you, an email from my Hotmail email. And so you should have received that by now. You scroll down until you see materials for 2026 Summer Attorneys Conference. And there's a box there to put a password in. My email gives you that password, and then it brings you up to the agenda where we had a 2-day conference. And the last item on there is spelled out data centers and all that. So click on that, and that'll give you all that 54 pages.
Thank you. All right, matters to be, well, before we move on, Ms. Garner, do you want to update everybody as to the schedule forthcoming for the comprehensive land use plan and how to access the document?
Thank you so much. Our comprehensive plan project is wrapping up. We've been working on this for about a year, a little over a year and a half now. We started with an open house and some pop-up events last spring and summer, and then had some more open houses in the fall. We had an open house, very informal, like drop-in meeting here last week. After the plan was posted on our website, you can access it at plankernersville.com. You can also get to it from the town page, but plankernersville.com will take you right to it. You can view the draft, and then you can submit feedback if there's anything that's been missed by our consultants as we've taken in feedback over the past year and a half. So we will have one last drop-in open house next Monday night from 4 to 6 p.m. here in this room. Our consultants will be here. It'll be very similar to the meeting we had last week or the week before last, which was just staff-led. We had maps out and we were answering questions. We answered a lot of questions about the pool, and we told folks that, you know, they were obviously very interested in their community, and we would love to tell them about the work that we were doing. So we recruited some new friends who are now interested in community planning. So that was a big win for everybody. So it'll be a drop-in meeting next Monday. Planning Board will hold a public hearing at their meeting that same night, starting at 6:30. And then we will have that on your docket on August 26th for a final public hearing. So we're really pleased with it. We've gotten a lot of good feedback. We've sent it around to a lot of stakeholders that we deal with in the development world, and they have positive things to say about it. So we've tried to get it out in front of as many people as we can. I know Beth Price has posted on Facebook all of the dates and times for the hearing and then where things can be found. So I think she pinned it to the top of the Facebook. But if somebody has any questions, they can call our office.
And that would be the Town of Kernersville Facebook page.
Yes, ma'am.
And Beth is the Deputy Assistant Clerk. Okay, any questions about the land use plan update? So everyone take a moment when you have time and review it. All right. So Alderman Thompson, do you want to start?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Alderman Pegram?
Thanks to everybody that they didn't turn back on. Oh, sorry. Good. Okay, take two. Thanks to everybody that participated in getting the water turned back on, the workers and the people that distributed water to everybody while we were all out.
Mayor Pro Tem Gorham?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Apple?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Alderman Savanas?
I always have something. I do want to follow up with what Mr. Quigley had discussed during the public comment section on maybe we should look at the titles of the board, because I know that I didn't know what an alderman was. And all of our surrounding communities use city council, town council. I have friends all across the country. When I had told them I was running for Board of Aldermen, they go, "What does that mean?" So I think, I don't know, like, if I need to do a motion or anything to get staff to look at what the feasibility is of a change, but I think that we should at least look into it. If it's not feasible, if it ends up being an inordinate amount of money or a whole process like going through the General Assembly or something, then that might not be feasible, but we should at least look and see.
I don't know, I mean, we would need to look to see what's involved in it. I don't think you would need to go to the General Assembly to change it.
It's in our charter, though. That's the
That's
thing.
why.
Yeah,
The
is
charter
it-
says it's the Board of Aldermen.
But did the
So-
charters, and I don't know that the charter stated that it had to be called the Board of Aldermen. It just says the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. I don't know that the charter specifies that the name of the board will be the Board of Aldermen versus Town Council. So I don't know. That's something we would
We
need
can research
to
it.
look at and see. If it does state somewhere in the charter that the name of the elected official board will be the Board of Aldermen, then you would have to change the charter, and I don't know that you'd even have to go to the General Assembly to do that, would you, Keith? Probably just advertise it.
No, that would not require an action by the General Assembly. The board can vote to make that change. The board can vote to make that change pending approval by the voters. The board can do it just as the board, and I don't expect there would be a lot of pushback on that. I don't imagine a petition for a referendum on that being called. And of course, the state legislature could undo it or could do it themselves without us asking.
But if the board wants to, we'll look into it and get back to you in a couple months and let you know what's involved in it.
Do you want a motion or just to look into it?
If the motion would be good.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you, that's all.
And Chief Tilley, I wondered if you had any words of wisdom as the school year begins about the SROs, about stopping for school buses, about anything that might be on your heart this evening.
Well, I think you just hit them all. So yeah, just leave early. Don't get frustrated. Traffic's going to be bad. Give it 2 or 3 weeks to work itself out. It always does. Just be patient and, be kind to one another. We do have a couple new SROs this year, so we're getting excited for it. So we're ready to go.
Thank you. All right, I want to wish everyone a happy end to the summer and enjoy your summertime while we still have it. We'll be maybe not having such a hot time since we're through July, but I hope you enjoy your summer, and we'll see you for the comprehensive plan review, the planning board meeting, the Honeybee Festival, and our meeting at the end of the month. May have missed a few things, but again, just wish everybody enjoyment of this last bit of summer. Is there any further business before the board this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor? It's unanimous, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.